welcoming Andy Parsons, Lauren Laverne, Russell Howard, Frankie Boyle, Hugh Dennis and Rod Gilbert. We start off with headlines. It's fairly obvious what the big news story of the week was. Here's a picture of the effects of this summer's adverse weather. What does RFHB stand for?
Is it Reading faces hosepipe ban?
Is it Rivers flooded, help, Batman?
Is it revenge for homosexuality and binging?
Is it rabbits found holding breath?
Is it rumour flooding has begun?
I think it's past a rumour at this stage. I like the gentle soft sell approach you're taking.
Is it record floods hit Britain?
Well done, Andy. Yes, the answer I was looking for was record floods hit Britain, refers to the devastation caused by torrential rain this week. Homes, roads and businesses have been flooded and many areas are without power or drinking water. So how bad has it been? Have you been watching?
Everybody's just talking about the flooding, aren't they? They're not talking about the forthcoming Verruca epidemic.
Who else is enjoying it? It's the Welsh, to be honest with you. I think we're sitting there laughing at you. Everybody's whinging about the bloody drizzle. That's all it is. This is nothing. You've got no idea. This is absolutely nothing. This is a spot of light drizzle. That's all you've had. Listen, you've got no... I've got webbed fingers, Dara. Can you see that? Look at that. I don't know if you can see that there. If you can get down camera. Genuine, exactly. Now that's wet. We've evolved to cope with a dash. This is nothing. This is nothing. I've got friends back home who can pass for scampi, if you don't like that.
They're talking about the rise in crime and looting and stuff like that. You think, well, surely some crime will go up, but other crimes will go down. I mean, you'd have to be a really determined flasher to get a canoe. Could you hold this oar while I get my zip down?
What's bizarre about it, though, is that people have been looting from cars. Who does that exactly? Can't I tell you what I want? A Lionel Richie CD and some Murray mints. Why steal from a car?
Why loot in a flood anyway?
Yeah, look at this DVD player. Oh, the water's run out of it onto my face. It's just as much. No, my favourite part of the coverage is because it's been a big week for people who own helicopters. Basically, they have been in demand in a huge way, so that journalists can go up and fly across the area and get those dramatic and do those voiceovers that they do. Really ponderous. I mean, this kind of footage that you get where they go, "This was the London Eye a week ago." This kind of... Did you know they're loving it? Why didn't they drive their caravans away as a water? Which actually, that's a good question, John. Why didn't they drive the caravans away?
Drive the cars away, is it?
Yeah, the cars would be the first thing I'd have taken.
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't Gordon Brown go over it in a helicopter? Is that what the voters want to see? He might as well have turned up on a jet ski.
I mean, we've had all this panic buying, haven't we?
Oh, that's hilarious.
You know, various people queuing up, haven't they? And complaining, you know, they've been queuing, they've been moaning about the weather. They're British. It's the best day of their bloody lives.
But the problem I've got with it is they keep going panic buying and they're getting, like, bread and wellies and water. That's not panic buying. Panic buying when it's raining is they go, "Get me a Victorian hat stand and a tiger and an apricot." It's panic buying, surely. Getting bread and wellies is probably quite clever.
You just come home to your wife with all this stuff and like 20 chalk ices. What, panicked?
The best statistic I've learned is the sales of tumble dryers are up tenfold.
Yeah.
People, rather than just buying one tumble dryer, are now filling an entire room with tumble dryers. Just 10 tumble dryers stacked high, with your clothes in one, your carpet in the next, your DVD player in the third, then your child slowly drying out. Do you know, in terms of other public stories, why did this man's family not want to leave the pub?
Did he have a quid on the pool table and it was winner stays on?
Is it because that man's only got the top half of his body?
He said he couldn't go. We couldn't leave Katie, their dog. She's 14, weighs 8 stone and has arthritis and couldn't be winched to safety.
Put it down.
She
Put
could
it down.
float to safety. Push her out the window, she'll find a way home.
There is a bright side, though, isn't there? Because there's going to be less terrorist attacks because it'll be really difficult for them to get their bombs lit. Trust me, this device will make one hell of a sploosh.
It's also good news that the Bishop of Carlisle has decided to keep his trap shut.
He should have this, hasn't he? Yeah.
This was, you know, the bloke who 2 weeks ago when there was flooding in the South Yorkshire area said he thought it was due to permissive gay legislation. Now, I don't remember, right, the South Yorkshire area being a thriving gay community.
What he said was true. Brighton would be like Atlantis by now. Their public transport system would just be flumes. Gays passing each other.
There was a marked difference though in the coverage of these floods and the coverage of the also quite bad, it has to be said, floods in the north.
Well, it was down south, Dara. Christ.
That's when it really hurt, is it?
Exactly. It was a disaster. Now it's a catastrophe.
24-hour coverage for the last few days of the floods in Gloucester and places like that. Whereas when it was Hull and Doncaster, it was 24 hours of, bad weather for Wimbledon. And it's difficult to get... I can imagine they found it tough to really get the sense of pain up when they're sitting in their house, watching their possessions float out the door going, I hope Rafa Nadal can finish his match today.
Do you know why that is, though, Dara? It's because they've only got the one North of England correspondent for the entire flipping news channel, so, you know...
And he hasn't got a boat.
Exactly.
It's trapped on the wrong side of the Pennines. Couldn't get to the other side.
They can't go over it in a helicopter or people will start worshipping it as a god.
Apart from God and his judgmental nature, who is being blamed for this?
Oh, the government.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is the government.
Is it David Cameron being all cross?
David Cameron.
He was going like this to the sky. Why?
That's him.
Look at
That's exactly it. We're going like that to the sky. It's more forlorn. Why would you rain on Oxfordshire?
The reason is they won't let him in the bloody pub. That's the trouble.
They're actually just about to throw the fat dog down. He's gonna...
He was sloshing around his constituency, Oxfordshire, which is under a few feet of water as well. Not only the worst effect, but he was sloshing around going, well, the rain was at fault, but also the government was at fault. Because apparently they received a warning.
Really?
Yeah. On Wednesday.
Was
From
it
the Bishop of
rain?
Carlisle.
Not
he
from the
rang
Bishop
in.
of Carlisle, no, but from
Just the wind.
Gordon, I'm going to kill you.
Anything you want to say, Gordon? No.
They received warning on Wednesday, and yet, even though they'd received warning, they didn't take those 48 hours to build a 10-foot tall wall over the entire length of the Severn and Thames. What's wrong with these people? Why aren't they like me?
Has anyone else heard the sound of champagne corks and laughter every time they go by DFS? I'd be surprised if all the staff at DFS have spent the whole winter in forest clearings worshipping Thor.
Do you think it'll be the first week ever next week when DFS doesn't actually have a sale?
Yes. It's full price week.
At the end of that round, the points go to Russell, Lord and Andy! It was a late decision. The next round is called Between the Lines and features Hugh and Frankie. Would you please make your way to the press pit? Frankie delivers a speech in the guise of a leading figure on the world stage while Hugh translates what he really means. Frankie, this week you are Russian President Vladimir Putin addressing his people.
The British government are trying to portray me as some sort of evil mastermind.
We had a good laugh about that with the abducted scientists on my cloud base.
People think that I'm miserable, but I am smiling on the inside. I've just come back from America, where I found I had a lot in common with President Bush.
Neither of us can speak English without a translator.
I want to gain your confidence. You can trust me.
Perhaps we could meet for some sushi.
There are a lot of misconceptions about Russia. People think we are a nation of alcoholics.
I love you.
People think that...
He's trying to do a line.
But people think that Russia is run by gangsters. I find that funny.
What do you mean funny? Funny how? Funny in what way? You find me amusing? I love you.
Britain continues to anger Russia, then we will shut off vital supplies to your country.
See how you get on with ordinary porn now.
Thank you. Well done, thank you. Okay. Now we play a round called Dara's Decan Pizza of Fun. This game involves Rod, Andy, Frankie and Russell, so if you can make your way to the performance area, please. This is where we test our performers' stand-up skills. We spin our news generator, it settles on a topic, and anyone can volunteer jokes about the chosen subject. The winner's the team I judge to produce the funniest stuff. Okay, here we go. Let's spin the wheel. The subject is national identity. Who wants to come forward? Russell.
Thank you. We're told to worry about national identity all the time. Like, Gordon Brown seems to be obsessed with British values. Have you noticed that? Kind of preaching British values. What are British values? Ultimately, we're all embarrassed and we laugh at stuff we shouldn't. That's pretty much it, isn't it? It's like forbidden giggle. You know when you're not allowed to laugh, but all you can think about doing is laughing. It's like when you see an old lady get hit by a frisbee. You know it's wrong. You know? The last time I saw that flag, it was a football game. England were playing Croatia, right? In Croatia, there was a bloke holding up the flag, right? Into which he'd sung the words, "Go home, asylum seekers!" And like, how middle class a hooligan are you? You're into bigotry and embroidery.
Okay, let's spin the wheel again. The subject is transport. Who is spinning that? Rod.
May I? See, I don't know about you, the viewing public and the audience here in the studio, but I'm pretty paranoid on trains, are you? No, you're not as paranoid as I am. I just get paranoid. They make you paranoid, I think. It's all these announcements and signs. You know, if you see anything unusual, report it immediately. I was on a train last Wednesday and saw a Hare Krishna eating a bounty. I reported it and they blew him up in a controlled explosion.
Well done, Rod Deborah. Thank you very much. Okay, that leaves us with Andy and Frankie. Let's spin the wheel. The next topic is health. Yeah, that says health to me.
There was a health report recently on Scotland that said that Scotland is the worst small country in Europe. And we were quite disappointed because we thought we were the worst small country in the world. Glasgow's chief health officer said that he was slightly surprised by the findings, which caused him to have a massive heart attack. Scotland does, though, have the best mental health record in Europe. And I think that's because in Scotland, you really have to go an extra bit to be judged mental. Sorry, son, we didn't realise you were a schizophrenic. We just thought you were a bit of a character.
Thank you, Rod. Okay, let's see what's left for Andy. Let's spin the wheel. The topic is drinking.
Now, according to police, right, apparently in nightclubs, 1 in 20 drinks are spiked. Now, I was thinking this could give you a little excuse not to go into work the next day. Phone up work, I can't come in, my drink was spiked. How do you know? Well, I had 20 of them. One of them must have been. Of course, if you go and see your doctor now, they give you a little test, don't they? My doctor, he said to me the other day, he said, "How many units of alcohol have you had this week?" I said, 21. He said, "That's not bad. The maximum's 28. I was thinking it was bloody lucky I saw him on the Monday.
At the end of that round, I'm giving the points to Andy and Russell. Come on back. Our next round is called If This Is the Answer. What is the question on the board of 6 categories? Lauren, which category would you like?
The arts, please, Dara.
Okay, the arts it is. The answer is 15 per second. But what is the question?
Is it how many pounds sterling is Simon Cowell paid to cut the cultural throat of our nation and drink its still warm blood?
That's not what I have on the card.
Is it at what rate has the BBC issued apologies over the last fortnight?
Is it how many sofas are currently passing underneath the Severn Bridge?
It is the world's most tragic floating thing, a sofa, isn't it? It's the most incongruous. Oh, we can't sit in that now.
I saw one bonfire night. I saw a bunch of kids, instead of a bonfire in South Shields, set fire to a fridge and dance around it. That was pretty weird. That was quite incongruous.
Can you burn a fridge?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can burn it good.
Is it, how many times does David Beckham wonder why everyone stopped speaking Spanish?
I know what it is. It's how many copies of Harry Potter has been sold.
It is absolutely correct. Well done, Lauren. Very good. Thank you. The question I was looking for, how quickly were copies of the final Harry Potter book selling on launch day? This is a claim by a leading high street retailer that they were selling 15 copies of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows every second after midnight openings across the country. What do you think of us? Have you read it?
I actually queued up for the book.
You did?
No.
Did you?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. It was fantastic. Listen to that. It was just brilliant. There was loads. What was great? There were people dressed as like Hagrid and very, very normal people, young kids and stuff like that. Just thousands of people waiting outside. And then every so often, someone who's drunk would just wander past and go, "He dies! He dies!" And then kind of wander off. And then like a minute later, "He dies!"
I think people did that when the Bible first came out. That'd be great.
What was wonderful, after about, this happened maybe 3 times, a little kid just plucked up the courage and just one went, "He dies!" And this little kid just went, "Expelliarmus!" And you just sat there going, yeah, magnificent.
Did you dress up?
Did I dress up? No, I was just wearing my usual lycra catsuit.
It might feel, why didn't you turn up dressed as like a stormtrooper?
Oh, I tell you what,
And just queue up as the wrong character from the wrong series.
what would have been great?
Well, I am Darth Vader. I'm sorry, I only have the one costume. I use it for all these events.
I should have dressed up as like a Sith Lord, just waited in the queue all the while and then just gone, the Da Vinci Code, please.
How long is it?
608 pages.
Because I've promised to read it to my son. I've read in every book so far.
That's
and I've got
brilliant.
to read it. It's going to take about 5 years. I read the last one, Harry Potter and the Structurally Reinforced Bedside Table. It took me about 1.5 years to read it.
Surely it'd be
It's
easier to
just-
get him to sleep if you just hit him with it.
It's translated into how many languages? I don't know how many languages it is, but the most ridiculous thing that I've read about this Harry Potter book is that they've translated into Welsh.
Why? I'm going to buy the one which has been translated into parcel mouth.
It's actually parcel tongue.
Oh, is it parcel mouth?
Oh boy.
The butter crowd are in tonight.
It's actually parcel tongue. 5 points from Hufflepuff. Do you see that?
Stop playing those 7 people in the audience. Doing a series of in-jokes that the rest of us can do nothing about.
Why is it, if Harry Potter is so magical, why can't he cure his own eyesight and get laid?
It's weird, because it's all fantasy and it's all. I haven't read it at all, right? And it's all completely fantasy and invented. Am I right? I think I'm.
Yeah,
right.
well, if you haven't read it...
It's
I haven't
not
read a
based,
word.
it's not based on real life.
See, that's what. I don't know. I haven't read it.
Based on a real Wizards College. The name of the Wizards College has been changed to protect the innocent. There's a man called Voldertrom who's going...
I'm surprised J.K. Rowling can be bothered to write anything with 500 million quid. Her next book is going to be called... Chapter 1, A Man Did a Thing.
There were independent bookshops who were going to Asda, buying it for £5 and then selling it for $18.99. Yeah, apparently. That's fair dues to them. I mean, Asda trying to shut them down. It's weird. It's the only book, largest book release of the decade, let's say, and it managed to both promote literacy and kill off independent bookstores in the same day. It's fantastic. Oh, we can all read. There are no bookshops. Okay. All we're allowed to do is read whatever's in the top 10 in Tesco. Have you seen the top 10 in Tesco? It's all books called Daddy, No! Touched, but not by an angel.
What's bizarre about it is that the state of books in this country, most people read books based on what Richard and Judy say to read. How bizarre is that? You know, you just read this. That's right, Judy's got a very good opinion.
Haven't you noticed that as Judy gets sort of smaller and fatter, Richard's sort of getting longer and thinner? Like she's starting to exert a sort of gravitational pull. It's going to end up with him just orbiting her during a wine tasting.
In other news, why might the government be setting a bad example to children?
Oh, I know.
What is it?
Because they've all been smoking drugs.
They have. The government have all smoked drugs 25 years ago and didn't like it, any of them. Really, the odds on 10 of them coming out and going, well, a bigger boy made me do it, and I didn't like it, you know? It is worrying, though, isn't it, that this is, you know, whether right or wrong, is the world's most popular recreational drug, but every politician seemingly is chemically different to the rest of the human population. Goes, no, it was wrong and horrible, and I'm sorry I did it now.
It's always like a sort of weird way that they took it as well. It's like, oh, I didn't actually smoke it. It was rubbed onto me by a passing cyclist.
Do you know Oliver Letwin? Do you know how he did dope?
How did he do it?
He says that somebody put it in his pipe.
When he was how old?
He didn't say what age he was,
He's
but
12.
even the notion as a student is going,
Somebody's gone a bit weird with this.
It's like those people who turn up to hospital with hoovers in their bottoms, isn't it?
I have a mate who works in Casualty. Not a television programme.
Okay.
No. And he worked in A&E, and he had a bloke come in with the hat of a garden gnome. Where it shouldn't have been. And then half an hour later, another bloke turned up with the hat of another garden gnome, and they claimed they'd never met each other. Isn't it connected irreparably with the head, though? Yeah, it was the whole gnome, actually. They both came in with a garden gnome.
Oh, I'm sorry, the hat was a bit... Oh, yeah, the rest of the gnome...
Oh, right, oh, so I was going to say...
You think they tried the fishing rod first?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what happens if you play...
I did a gnome... What was a gnome's expression? Like, particularly... I'll catch nothing here.
George Bush had a colonoscopy this week, didn't he? Surprising they knew which end to put the camera in.
What would be great is if all the MPs, if a few of them have dabbled in other drugs and they start getting flashbacks in the House of Commons, I thought just with that, just be kind of, Mr. Speaker, there is a unicorn winking at me. You know?
It'd be great to have a whole junkie cabinet, wouldn't it? This is your third state visit to Morocco this week. It's really interfering with our plans to invade Thailand.
But why don't we just go ahead and legalise it? Everybody's saying it's much less dangerous than alcohol. You know, alcohol, people get pissed up, don't they, and then go out and be violent. Cannabis, you stay in and you're able to do sod all.
Yeah, apparently, though, it causes mental health problems, so because it's so much more powerful now, people can get really, really paranoid. They might sit at home and think that their TV was talking to them. You could go out and kill James Blunt, couldn't you? Just a thought.
I get that when we did the points too. Thank you, and Rod! Now we come to our final quickfire round called Scenes We'd Like to See. This is for everyone, so if you could make your way over to the performance area, please. I call it ideas for scenarios we'd love to see, and the performers come in with their suggestions. Okay, the first subject tonight is unlikely lines to hear in an episode of Doctor Who.
Between series, I paint the TARDIS red and sell coffee.
Yes, Doctor. I am your arch-nemesis. You may also recognise me as Giuseppe DeMarco from EastEnders. My many walk-on parts in Casualty as Wounded Man.
Looks like we've materialised in the 19th century. Oh no, it's Glasgow 2007.
This is not a waste of time. You are a Time Lord. Have you ever given money to the Labour Party?
I'm here to save the Earth, but as a doctor, I won't be working evenings or weekends.
K9, stop humping the toaster.
Welcome to my Dalek poetry reading. This one is called Daffodils. Exterminate daffodils!
Okay, the next topic is bad ways for Gordon Brown to address the nation.
You can take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom.
This isn't my sporran. It's Hazel Blair's asking for a promotion.
The economy is in ruins. I blame the previous Chancellor.
You thought Tony Blair was a... Watch this.
People of Britain, when I address you like this, did you know sometimes I get so excited a little bit of wee comes out?
You might like Tony more, but you'll hate my wife less.
In these troubled times between our nations, I feel I need to reach out to President Putin and say, I have shagged your mother.
It's time you learnt the truth, Earthling.
Citizens of New Atlantis, I bring greetings from our brothers, the Crabmen.
No. Don't make me do it, Mother.
I'm G to the B, and this is how I roll. You got beef with me, you kiss my A-double-S hole.
Okay, point over Frankie here live. That is the end of the show. This week's winners are Annie Parsons, Lauren Laverne and Russell Howard. Committee Congratulations to Frankie Boyer, Hugh Dennis and Rod Dilber. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Give them space next on BBC Two. Henderson and the crew face a sensitive mission in hyperdrive. Then pensioners with attitude, Jack and Victor, are in the dark, but still game at 10.